We got a tight space between the house and this retaining wall that we're gonna fill with a pond and waterfall. You know, I really don't mind if you guys bring me easier projects to work on. This is gonna be tricky. Hey everybody, it's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. Today I'm in Media, PA. We're outside Philadelphia. We're gonna be installing about a 19 by 30 foot pond, 4 feet deep, wetland filter, waterfall against the wall, intake bay, a lot of cool stuff going in here in this very tight space. Jerome, the homeowner, has been doing his research and saving up for years to do a project like this. He is super excited. What he wants to see is out this picture window that was just installed. This is where we've got an eating area here, table, chairs. Looking out, we're gonna see a nice waterfall coming off this area here. So we'll be out in front of this wall. Constructed wetland filter is gonna be over here. It's gonna be about an 8 by 10. We're gonna have a pond go from this edge of the patio all the way down to about here, which is gonna completely fill this space with water. It's gonna be so cool, like living on the water basically. That big picture window there, we've got windows from the kitchen, bathrooms, bedrooms, everything is directed towards the back of the house. So we're gonna make the most of this space. What's gonna be so hard about this is our access is only from here, in and out. So that means we're gonna have to do this in pieces. We're gonna come up here. First thing I wanna do is I wanna get this constructed wetland filter dug and installed. Then from there, we can actually dig this portion of the pond, probably about 10 or 12 feet back, and build that out. The hard part is we've got a 30 by 50 liner we're using for this entire job. That means we have to roll that thing all the way back up to here, work on building this, fold it back into the pond, dig some more, roll it up, fold it back in the pond, and dig the rest. So I'm thinking we'll do this in maybe 3 pieces, could be 4 depending on how big the boulders we're using are and how much reach we have with the machine. Now over the last 20 plus years, I've done several projects like this where we had to work out from a tight spot, and I just never remember exactly how difficult they are. I know this one's gonna be a pain, but in the end it will be worth it. This is going to be the centerpiece of the backyard. Let's get rolling on this constructed wetland filter. Our wetland filter is coming along, but what the heck is that? We're building a retaining wall outside this corner of our wetland filter. The reason is our pond is right on this side. And remember I said we're gonna have to do things differently here? Well, the difficulty of having the access issue where we have to build the wetland first is causing us to have to support this. Now, this retaining wall is gonna hold up the wetland while we dig the pond. We're gonna be digging down 3 feet right here next to this wall. Now, before I can actually dig this has to be built, which means I've got to build a waterfall on top of it. I'm gonna fill it up with rock and gravel. That's gonna be a heck of a lot of weight in there pushing against here. If I went and just carved out for my pond next to it, what would happen is all that weight of the rock would push out and it would collapse our wetland filter into the pond, and we don't want that to happen. So we're gonna build a structural wall on this front corner because this is the side where we're digging for the pond. Then once it's done, our liner will actually come up in front of this from the pond. We'll use a rock pad, really protect that liner. It'll come up on top. We're setting our top elevation to the weir height of the wetland itself, and our wetland liner will come over the top of that, creating that overlap in that spot. When we're finished, you will not see any of this wall, but it's gonna do what we need it to do so that we can actually get ourselves back out of this spot. And these are some of the interesting things that you have to come up with when you're dealing with a tough access job like this. Thinking about like what's gonna happen if you don't support that is extremely important, because we don't want to go through, do all this work to build the wetland filter plus the waterfall on top and then have a catastrophe in here. So taking those steps to think about how this is all gonna work mechanically, super important. We're gonna get this wall done today. The wetland will be ready to go for tomorrow. We've got our load of rock coming, which is one of my favorite parts because I love when the rock shows up. You really get a chance to see what the paint looks like that you're gonna work with. As an artist, the rock is everything. It makes the whole job. It's gonna be the final outcome and what everybody sees. So tonight we'll get that finished and we'll see you tomorrow when the rock shows up. It's just before 8 a.m. and our first rock delivery has showed up. Now Colby, you actually went up and picked these rocks, right? So we're gonna see how Colby did. Hopefully you got some good stuff for us.
I think they're pretty good.
Looking good so far. Oh, my camera's totally fogging. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. That's what 24 tons looks like. And we're getting 2 loads for this job. We're talking almost 50 tons of rock that are gonna be used to build this pond. This is some really nice stuff. A lot of the stuff that I like has flat surfaces on it that we can use to either stand this way. I can even make that the bottom. I can make that the top. This is a rock that we can turn vertical right here. Got a big chunky one. I could see using that one maybe on the patio side. This is about like 7 feet long from here to there. Maybe I could frame out that right side of the wetland with that. Another real nice big one here. A lot of this can be used as accent boulders too. Beautiful stuff. Now that we got our rock, we can actually get started with shaping this thing out. Unconventional, challenging, very challenging. Those are the words I would use to describe this job. This is something you probably don't see every day, between the block work holding up the wetland filter and then a waterfall inside the wetland filter. And then we've got outcroppings around the outside that are gonna meet up to the patio. So there's a lot happening in this small space. But the idea here is we're gonna start a waterfall about this high, feed it down into a pool, and then split it out this way so we can get a waterfall here coming towards this end of the pond, and then we want to get water going that way. The other thing I got to really keep in mind is all these cascades, we want to be able to really see it from that picture window. But building inside the wetland has its own set of challenges. We are setting rocks here in the gravel, and then we're going to have to build up with gravel behind it before we set the next layer of rocks, which means a lot of bibbing is going to happen here. This section here is going to stay open, because wrap your mind around this. We got to have wetland water come up from the bottom, waterfall water come from the top, and then it's going to spill off into here. So there's a lot of moving parts happening here, but I think it's going to be awesome when it's finished. I mentioned seeing the waterfall from inside that picture window. Let's go inside. One of the most important things that we look at when we're looking at designing a water feature is the view from inside the house. This is that picture window, and here's the kitchen table. I mean, that is just framed out perfectly. There's gonna be the waterfall right there behind Anthony, multiple cascades, and this is all gonna be water outside here. I mean, how great is that gonna look? So we could set these next 4 to 5 rocks inside the wetland. That's gonna give us the opportunity to start digging this pond, but we can't do that until we're sure we don't have to set any more big rocks with that guy over in that waterfall wetland area, because once we dig this, there's no getting back. I can't fit in this little 3-foot wide walkway around here to go back and set rocks. So we've got to really make sure that we've covered all our bases up in this area before we start putting that bucket in the ground and taking this earth out to create the pond. So we got some massive rains last night. I only say that because the soil here actually drains really well. There wasn't not one puddle in this excavation. So the whole pond was dug down to 30 inches. The entire pond footprint was dug down to 30 inches. That's just so we can get in here and do our work Eventually this is going to go to 4 foot on this end, probably from right about there. We're going to cut down to 4 foot, and this whole other section here will be 4 foot with some shelving. We put down a base layer of sand just to protect it, because this soil is a bit rocky. It's got some of this sharp gravel in it. So what we do is we rake this all out real nice, put down a bedding of sand, maybe just about an inch or inch and a half of it, and then we're using this heavy duty rock pad. Now you can see what that wall looks like with the rock pad up on it. We've got a really nice cushion here. Everything's tucked in nice and neat. We actually use a torch to hold the fabric down to each other, so it's all buttoned up there. So this is all looking great. Now we're gonna bring our pond liner in. We've got to wrap it up this wall and then over into our wetland filter. Then we can take this wetland filter liner and we'll go over the top, creating an overlap. So that's going to be where the transition happens from the wetland into the pond. Now the pond water level is about 8 inches lower than this wall. So we've got plenty of room here for our overlap. Then we can start setting our boulders. We're going to want to do some outcroppings out on the corner here, kind of bringing this out. We've got a waterfall that's got to come out this side and a waterfall that's going to come out that side. I can see bringing this out this way with some rock work. We'll backfill this with some gravel, and then we can do some bib liner to attach the wetland to the pond itself. As if things weren't tight here already, we got our second load of rock delivered this morning, so that's another 24 tons out here in the driveway. Right now we got 2 machines squeezed in this area back here, and we've probably moved close to 50 yards of soil digging out that pond. So you can see we've got a big pile of dirt over here that we're gonna have to spread out later on. But check out the size of the rock pile now. It's gonna get interesting this morning. We're gonna have to actually pick through a lot of this, so it's gonna mean like taking a lot of rocks off, trying to find the right rocks we need to get that base layer in the pond, and then bringing them over one by one with the excavator. It's time to get busy.